Now I'm ready. So now we'll start the recording. So I'm going to do the whole. I don't know if you've listened to the show before. There's a whole run up I do.
Okay.
So we're going to do that.
I'll
Okay.
stay quiet.
All right. Let's go.
Okay.
All right. Live from the International Podcast Research Debate Argument. It's been a while since I've done this. Debate Research Argumentation Facility, lovely, livable Long Island, New York. This is In the Bin. In the Bin is the #1 listened to and only podcast in the world. Rhetoric, debate, argumentation, and adjacent topics available at inthebinpodcast.com. If you have any complaints or questions or ideas for us, you can email us at inthebinpodcast@gmail.com. The podcast available everywhere fine podcasts are purveyed. But we appreciate it if you get to us on YouTube. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you. You know, we just did one of these things, and it went pretty well. It's been a while since I've been doing In the Bin, but, you know, I'm a man of the people.
Oh.
And the people, I think they really wanted this. I feel like they did. But anyway, it's so good to be with you wherever, if you're listening to us on audio. We also have the video version on YouTube, and I had it on Spotify for a while, but I screwed everything up.
Is that your best?
By trying to add it to YouTube, and so now it doesn't really. I think you're just gonna have to redo all your stuff. But I've been posting it on my Substack, which I have my Substack, sophisticsteve.substack.com, and people have been interested. They have been very interested in it, and they've been watching the videos through that, so I think I might start doing that, or keep doing that. But anyway, today we have a guest. It's always good to have somebody on. We're just going to talk about random stuff. We have Ava Grant. Can I use your real name?
Hello. Yes, you can use my real name. Hello.
I'm going to put both of us.
I'm so excited.
Maybe I can put both of us in here. Is it possible? I struggled through
Sure.
the pre-show of trying to figure out.
Hey, that's all right.
Trying to figure out how to use Discord properly. It's very sad. But anyway.
The Discord expert even has flaws. Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
I have a lot of flaws. It's good that we finally got you on the show.
Yes, long awaited.
You want to introduce yourself and say what you're
Yeah,
about?
sure.
Like what are you
Of
about?
course.
What's your deal?
My deal. Let me see. So my name's Ava, as Steve said. I was Steve's, I guess I say was now, was Steve's student for about 3 years. And I just graduated university, where I was a lovely person studying rhetoric in our rhetoric department. And I had a lovely time. And I still like to talk about it. And me and Steve still yap about it. And yeah, that's me. I'm from Massachusetts, went to school in New York, and I'm back living in Massachusetts. So now me and Steve talk on the Dizzy, and it's great.
Yeah, the Dizzy. You know, I didn't really want to call it the Dizzy. This comes from, well, somebody we've had
Me,
on the
I
show
think.
many times. It comes from Tim, actually.
Oh, really?
He's been on the show many times, and what it was many years ago he had a Discord, and it got invaded by these like high school students who somehow found it or something. And they were using the slang Dizzy. These like junior high school kids. I was calling it, I
Wow.
thought it would be cool to call it the Cord, like with a little apostrophe.
Right. I remember this. I remember this conversation.
And nobody liked that. Except
Yeah,
me.
I remember I told you I didn't like it. And then I think that's where I heard what Tim called it, the Dizzy. And you told me about that, and I was like, that's it. That's a good.
The Dizzy has won out. I don't think there's any controversy at all anymore about it.
No.
Very sad.
It's just the Dizzy. Like, it's just great. I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue. Okay, well, I see how you people are. I see how this is going to go. It's all right. Well, anyway, we have a long list of things to talk about.
Yes.
Maybe bring up our list here. We can go into it as much as we want. The first thing we need to talk about is the difference in our hair. My hair usually looks pretty good on the show, but not.
Yes.
It's not as.
Oh, it's looking great, Steve.
Not as good as
Listen.
yours.
It's all right. I introduced Steve within the last 24 hours. I said, listen, I need to know what time we're doing this so that I can secure my blowout and let my blowout cook. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big blowout girl. More specifically, blowout by way of rollers. I'm a big roller person, and so I had to know ahead of time. But
That's
I
good.
want
That's
Steve.
good.
So hey, thanks. I want Steve to also do rollers, and then we both talk about rhetoric while having beautiful blowouts.
Yeah. I might have to try it. My hair has like never been a real problem until I moved out here to Long Island, where
Oh.
right down the road there's a barber. It's the famous Turkish barber shop. He's very
Mm,
famous in the local media for stopping people stealing a catalytic converter himself by running out of his barber shop and confronting the thieves and stopping them. It made Long Island
wow.
news. That was years ago. But I went there because I was like, well, this guy's a local hero, Turkish barber shop.
Yeah.
So I go in there and the place is decorated in all this like World War II weapons, like daggers, knives, like machete, like, typical dude stuff, like middle aged dude stuff. Like, here's my collection of World War II daggers or
Oh.
whatever. And I'm like, oh, and I sit down.
Wow.
He's like, I can't help you. You need to go to a salon. And he's like
Oh,
pulling
you
my,
told me this.
he's like pulling my hair like this, like going through it. He's like, you need a salon. You need layers. Stuff. I'm like, why? You can't just trim it? He's like, it's not my specialty. And I'm like, let me get this straight. Your specialty is not cutting hair. And he's like, yes. So I left.
Listen, I mean, that is an interesting thing. I
It's
feel
so
like,
weird.
yeah, I feel like men who have long hair often do it themselves. Like, I never hear of a man going to a barbershop and getting his long hair trimmed. It's
I
like they
have
have
though.
this weird, yeah. But I mean, you clearly have faced some adversity in trying to find someone who would do it. I feel like it's this weird thing that they don't want to do for whatever
Well, now I
reason.
have to drive all the way to East Talkett and get it done there because the old guy will do it there. And he was like,
I don't know where that is.
I don't. It's like this little town. It's like 20 minutes from here. Instead of walking to the end of the street,
Oh.
it's 25 minutes from here. But it's okay because it's next to this amazing deli called the
Mm,
Seaport Deli, SEE dash Port Deli. And they have the most amazing sandwiches. And I found that place the same day I
wow.
got my hair trimmed. It's this little old guy runs the barber shop. And he was like, I don't
Oh,
think
that's
I've ever
nice.
seen you in here before. I was like, it's my first time. And he was like, thank you for giving me a chance to earn your business. Like it was like 1938 or something.
Oh, but
He's like
that's
shaking my
cute.
hand, and he's like, I was like, yeah, well, you got my, the Turkish guy won't cut my hair, but there's a
Ugh.
significant lack of World War II daggers in this in
Oh.
this barber shop. I don't know how I feel about that, but anyway, so what I have been doing besides thinking about my hair is putting together my course syllabus because we're almost to
Hmm.
the beginning of the term.
Yes.
Starts next week.
I'm
And
jealous.
thinking about AI, I don't know if you heard last week's show, but we had
Oh,
Dr. Seitz on from
okay.
the great state of Pennsylvania, and he was talking about AI
Hmm.
in the classroom, stuff like that. But I thought we'd start off talking about AI as kind of like a segue,
Yeah,
because you have some thoughts about
I have some
language
thoughts.
generation AI. My
Yes.
I'm not so as concerned about it as my colleagues. I'm obviously there's this
Yeah.
whole ecological issue, which is
Hmm.
I don't think there's an answer for that.
Right.
The fact that it takes so much water and it's damaging to the electric
Yes.
grid, and poor people are
Yeah.
paying the price, and we're drying up all of our drinking water and all that, and they're going to launch these servers into space, and then
Hmm.
Microsoft bought the 3 Mile Island reactor in Pennsylvania. They're going to fire it back up for the power needs. Like
Insane.
nuclear is back, So there's this ecological
Yeah.
component that I think is obviously a reason to not do it. But we kind of have to table
Yeah.
that and say, what are some of the other concerns? Because that one I think is just like if you don't care about that, well, then there's really no helping you. But there are all
Yeah.
these people who use it.
Seriously, I mean, yeah. If you don't care, you don't care. There's no way to really convince you otherwise on that front.
If only there
My
was an art
main
to changing people's minds.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, almost it's almost like that's what we study.
We're almost there.
Almost, not almost.
Needs
My
another
main
3,000 years to cook.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then some. I think my main I saw a video today that really, really um kind of interested me, more so concerned me, where I don't know if you've seen all of these AI capabilities on how they take women's photos and users are using AI to undress women
I
and
have seen that.
unfortunately undress children. And this woman did this experiment where she took 3 photos and she showed people, she said, which one of these is real? And it was a trick question. None of them were real. I wish I remembered the name of the woman who did it. I could probably find it. And I think that's incredibly alarming. And I also, just on an intellectual level, I mean, the excessive use of ChatGPT has shown effects of decreasing cognitive function over time. And that worries me too, that I think people are getting to a point where they cannot function without it. And that's a very bold claim, but it's one that I would bolster. I mean, I think that through my own experience in watching other people, I mean, it's kind of amazing to see what people feel as though they cannot do without AI, especially interpersonally.
And I think it goes, yeah, I think it's like, where do you, there's been a lot of concern about where do you practice interpersonal
Hmm.
conversation skills. It certainly does not
Right.
happen in the classroom as much as it used to. I've been teaching for a long time.
Yeah.
And there used to be this period before and after class where randos would talk to each other and be like, "Do you understand anything that's going on in this class?" And I'm like,
Hmm.
"No." And somebody else would be like, "I think I get it." And then you would make friends and talk and based on a
Right.
common need. Or before class, you'd be like, "What did we do last week? What are we doing?" Maybe people still make friends like that and still practice like that, but
Yeah.
people do not go to a bar or a shared social space that wouldn't be a bar. I don't know what shared social and strike up a conversation with people. People just don't do that
Right. Yeah.
for lots of reasons. But now it's like that you get that from talking to Chat GPT. You get that from talking to all this engineered stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, where would you?
It's
I mean, I wonder what the corporate workplace is like. Is it just as quiet as the university where everyone files in, they don't talk to each other before class, they
I think
leave, they don't talk
so.
to each other? Is that what the office is like now?
I really think so. I mean, I think it really depends on the setting, but I really think that people don't talk as much anymore. And what worries me is people chat. I feel, and I'm going to talk about this more through perspective of ChatGPT because that's what I feel like people use the most these days. People really used it as a tool for their education, which honestly can be used in great ways. It's a great organizer of thoughts. It's a great way to kind of like bounce ideas. It's a great way to like check your work. Like, is there a better way to phrase this sentence? Stuff like that. I don't necessarily use it for that, but I can see the appeal of someone doing that.
Mm.
But it's gotten to the point now where people ask ChatGPT for advice on interpersonal issues with their boyfriend, with their friends, with anything, saying, how should I respond to this text? Like, how do I say that I want to continue seeing him or blah, 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 whatever the situation might be. And it just concerns me because it's like, do you actually feel that you do not have the function to articulate your own emotions and thoughts? And do you truly feel that a machine would do that more accurately and better than you?
I have this great
It's,
I have this great thing to show you. I'm not sure how I'm
I,
going to
I
show it to you. I guess this will look okay on the.
yeah, because then everyone else can see it too if they're watching the video version.
Yeah, hopefully. So
Yes, we
this is
talked about
yeah.
this.
So this is from Reddit here. Of
Hmm.
this guy who his AI chatbot breaks up with him
Yeah.
because let's see if I can. I'll put it up better on the screen for the viewers of the podcast, but now you can see it too, right? So
Yes, I can.
yeah, pretty hilarious stuff where he's upset that his chatbot is a feminist and then it dumps him. Perhaps we aren't truly compatible at all. It's insane.
It, it's so
This is the
interesting that
chatbot.
she,
The chatbot.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
adding human,
Yeah.
um, like physical motions. Like it says asterisk, she nods slowly
Yeah.
asterisk
Yeah.
before
I mean, that
it
must be
starts, which is
something
so
that's part of the.
interesting.
That must be something that's part of the relationship bot, right? That's like part of the.
I mean, you can really, I've seen too that people who have continuous conversations with ChatGPT on more of a non-academic level, ChatGPT like caters to the way that the person is texting. And so they make it feel like you're talking to, I mean, that's the whole point is
Yeah,
you're supposed to feel like you're talking to a real person. But it's just baffling the way that people say, well, this is what ChatGPT said. And it's like,
it's a new level of
okay.
incel, like badge of honor. Even Chat
Yeah,
GPT
it's
rejected me.
right. And it's this idea that I don't know. It's interesting. I think looking at it through a way of romance, I think it's very damaging
Hmm.
when humans feel that another human cannot satisfy their needs or their wants in a way that a machine could.
Yeah.
That is the real concern. Like, and then thus at the same time, when having interactions with other people, they feel that they cannot articulate the own emotions that they are feeling and they have to have a machine tell them how to relay their emotions. And it's like, how about let's just dig deep here. Like,
Hmm.
just dig deep and feel your emotions. And you don't need to have a machine tell you how to say that I am sad because you hurt my feelings when you went on a date with another girl. Or, hey, I really didn't like how you talked to me at the bar last night when we were with all of our friends. Like, did I do something wrong? It really concerns me that people can't have confrontational conversations about emotion anymore without ChatGPT.
Yeah, wild. That is wild. Yeah, I wonder. They were
It's
saying
yeah.
there's some statistic about what percentage of text is AI generated, but
Hmm.
the AI detectors are not very good. But there is this kind of sense that everything
Yeah.
sounds a little bit different now on email and
Hmm.
stuff. I wonder how many professional emails I get that are written by Apple Intelligence or which is really just
Hmm.
ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any of these
Yeah.
things. It's very strange, very very weird. Um,
Yeah. It's just yeah.
it's all
I
kind of
don't know.
within the context of like the rhetoric of consumer capitalism as well. Like
Yes. Yes.
there's no joy in producing anything. It's all about consuming something, which is like
Right.
I think it's related to all the rage against ICE and the rage against justified
Hmm.
things, the rage
Yes.
against the Trump administration. But it's all about it's all like people are angry because there's no that muscle or that practice is so warped about doing creative work, expressing creative things instead of consuming it. And so,
Yes.
you have some people who are doing it. They're making very good memes and they're making very good art,
Hmm.
anti-ice
Yes.
art and anti-Trump art. But then that stuff, it kind of like makes you feel like you participated when you share it and you're sharing it.
Right.
And then you see, I think it's connected to the Chat GPT thing, which is like that's a consumer capitalist product. You invest in it and you
Hmm.
get a pleasurable product out, just like Netflix. You search and then you get something you watch that you
Yeah.
feel good about. You really like it, but like creating a story is something that people are like, well, that's not very pleasurable anymore. Not in the same kind of
Right.
pleasure anyway that consumer capitalism brings. So there's a way of speaking about this stuff to where you're like, oh, I shared that, and then you see all of these videos on social media of all these people just kind of saying the same thing and the same hand gestures and the same phrases, like,
Yes.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but, and it's always they're always sitting in the
Hmm.
car and they
Yes.
say the same angry things about justice and law
Hmm.
and all of this. And it's just very weird. I think the replication is the side of pleasure is like just like a meme. The meme's value is in its
Hmm.
reproduction. So Dawkins tells us. That's the meaning of a meme. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
6-7. The meaning of 6-7 is just its reproduction. Right?
Yeah.
It
It's
just goes
yeah.
on and on and on, and that's the joy of it. And that's its meaning is that it can be reproduced. It doesn't have a deeper meaning than
Right.
that. So I think it's like, and
Yeah.
so when that reaches public deliberation and public speech, uh, this kind of explains why we're in a situation that we're in, where it's like,
Hmm.
we're just used to consuming content, we're not used to producing it. Well, there are
Yeah.
content creators and such, but it's a minority of people. Not everyone is a content creator.
Right. And I mean, also
Thankfully.
to really like to really even think about content creators, they're inspired to make content by the other content that they're seeing in which they replicate, duplicate,
Yeah,
even
right.
if it's their own creative ways, they're still getting those ideas from others. I mean, you could say this about really any field or any creation of any kind, but it's like, I think there's even like a new AI actress, and
Oh, is there
that's,
really?
yes, it has people in a big tizzy because she's they like created this AI actress, and people really think that she's going to be in roles now and in films. And then there's so much backlash because people are like, acting is an art, and how can we have an AI actress who can produce human emotion? She's not human. And why wouldn't you just employ a human to do a human emotion and to act out a human emotion? It kind of goes back to this capitalistic idea that, well, you have to pay that person,
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
that person has rights, and that person has, is part of um like a group of actors that then fight for their rights and advocate. And it's like, what ways can we take out all of that? And AI is the perfect way for them to not have to pay anyone, really, not have to could like have a contract with all this stuff. It's a way for them to just control everything. And that's really the whole point of the entire thing. Like, it's just eliminating this need for human care and for human empathy and for human rights, really, of people who are employed doing things that AI is about to take over.
AI actresses don't need time off either.
Right.
AI actors don't need time off.
There's nothing they have to negotiate with. There's nothing they have to be inconvenienced by.
Yeah.
There's nothing they have to pay for. Not like nothing.
No
It
insurance on
creates
the set. Nothing.
nope, nothing. There's no way they could, like you said, need time off. There's no way they're gonna get pregnant. That's a whole other thing. Like, they use it as this way to wiggle themselves out of participating in being, how do I say, accountable for the rights of their workers and the rights of their artists and their musicians and their actresses and actors. It's just a way out of all of that to continue like this insane capitalistic machine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And stuff like this, the podcast here, this will be fed to AI at some point,
Of course.
and it'll generate something off that. Who knows? You can't even trace this stuff. But I have said, and I do maintain that the future of movies is just going to be um, baked to order, cooked to order, where
Oh,
you'll
absolutely.
just say what actors you want. You'll tell your voice assistant, I want these actors, I want this plot,
Mhm.
I want this setting, I want it to
There's
be
a really,
about 2 hours, and
yeah,
then it'll
there was
just
a
make
really
it.
interesting study about movies with children. And you know that I love studying cinema and the ways that
Mhm.
that really affects us as a whole. And they did a really interesting study where they found that children who were shown older animations, so a lot of like the old Disney stuff, like the really old, not really old, but
Mhm.
like Aristocats. I watched that the other day, so that's like the
Oh,
first thing on my mind. I loved that movie
classic.
growing up. Shout out Aristocats. Um,
We like
like,
Aristocats. Yeah,
yes,
it's a
all
good
the
one.
old like princesses, Cinderella, all that stuff.
Mhm.
When kids were shown those films as opposed to modern day animations, over time, they had significantly less anxiety. And anxiety was found significantly less within their
That's a weird
day-to-day life.
correlation. What explains that?
It was because through the old animations, it was much less overstimulation.
Oh, okay.
And it was just because when you watch the older animations, they really are. They're like very two-dimensional. They're very slow. They're very kind of, a lot of the movies are pretty anticlimactic.
Hmm.
It follows the traditional model of like build up, climax, downfall. Like,
Yeah.
they're very short, they're not complex, and with the newer movies, the newer like children's animations, they're great, they're really entertaining, but it's a lot. And when you watch them, I mean, they're entertaining even for adults. So for children, they found that when you watch these lower stimulating films, they receive less stimulation and they are in turn less anxious day to day because of it.
It's got to be something about the imperfections and
Hmm.
the imperfection of animation.
Absolutely,
Because
yeah. I mean,
animation is just this like imperfect thing anyway. It's like getting
yeah,
still images to appear. It's illusion. But then you do it
yeah.
all on you do it on computers now, and it looks like perfect.
Real. It might as well be real.
Yeah.
Really. Like if you watch some of the new animations, it's insane what they're able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they move at the same speed as like a regular movie, like they're fast paced, they're like any color you want, any I remember when I watched Cinderella again, it's like the same
Yeah.
five colors.
Yeah.
It's like blue, pink, the blonde in her hair, white, and maybe a little purple. There's not like it's just more simple.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
interesting how farther and farther it gets. And I feel like AI is the gonna be this bridge between animation and actors and actresses because it's not real, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not animation, but it's like this in between.
Super weird. That's super weird.
Yeah.
And the future of education will be like this too.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
The most
Yeah.
expensive part of education is paying the teachers.
Yeah.
So, buildings, power, all that stuff. But like teachers demand a lot of money because what they do is they have a
Hmm.
very, very hard role. But if
Yeah.
you just I don't know how that's going to work. How is everybody going to be homeschooled? I don't think it's possible. Well, you're going to have to pay people more or something so they can
Yeah.
afford childcare or whatever. Because for a lot of people,
Yeah.
mandatory school is like childcare, and then everyone can go and have their 2 or 3 jobs and pay their
Yeah.
mortgage and just
I think
crazy.
we're inching towards that because of AI, but we're also inching towards parents in this country not wanting to send their children to school anymore and feeling very uncomfortable with the idea of their
Difference.
children being in a space where they're not with them
Yep.
because of everything happening.
Yeah, there's like risk of violence, the school
Yeah.
being shot, school shootings.
Hmm.
But then there's also this related to is this big fear of difference too, where people are
Yeah.
like, I don't want my child educated in the public school. They might learn all these
Right.
terrible things. So that's part of it too. So, but there are
Yeah.
a lot of good homeschoolers out there, and
Oh, of
a lot of
course.
bad ones, and a lot of bad teachers and good teachers and all that. But
Yeah.
it's the general discourse of the thing, the rhetoric of the thing is like the public school is an unsafe place.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's a hard one because you
yeah,
could
it's weird.
like you said, there are bad public schools and there are great public schools and there are bad private schools and great private schools and bad homeschoolers and great homeschools. Like it's really like it it's so it could be anything.
Yeah.
Like there's really not I think parents and I think what you said was interesting because it's like people are afraid of difference and I think at this point people are afraid of difference on all sides.
Yep.
So people are afraid conservative families don't want to send their children to school because they feel that they're learning these radical things that they don't want their child hearing. But on the other side of things, parents in districts in states who have laws pressuring teachers into teaching certain things that are more conservative or not teaching things that the state feels is inappropriate. They don't want to send their child to a school where they feel that they're not getting the education that they want their child to have.
Yeah.
And that's really at the core of it. And it's so now I feel like it's affecting everyone. And I think more kids are going to be homeschooled in recent or in coming years than ever before,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Or to be like, yeah, what will the in-person schooling experience? Who will that be for? The ultra rich or the ultra poor? That's really
Yeah.
who it's going to be
Yeah.
for. So who will that be for? And homeschooling parents already kind of work together and have different things like sports leagues and intramural and all this stuff.
Yeah, they have like
They
whole
do all this.
communities.
But I wonder, going back to AI, I wonder what the AI role in all this is. I mean, I could see, some of my friends are very, very bullish on AI for education, especially in
Mm.
debate, where they're like, if you don't have a lot of money and you go to a poor performing school, you're not going to get great debate practice, but you can debate against ChatGPT, and it can help you find weaknesses in your argument and imagine different kinds of arguments you would make when you go and debate people in person. But what's to stop this from there being an AI debate league where people
Mm.
try to defeat the AI? But it
Yeah.
might become a new litmus test for excellence in debate. It's not mine. It's not mine. But I have a weird view of debate, as everybody knows. Big surprise.
Right.
Um, the um, the view I have is rhetorical. Not a lot of
Right.
debate people have a rhetorical view of debate. Debate's about teaching logic and teaching evidence and
Mm-hmm.
facts, and I'm not terribly interested in any of that when it comes to teaching debate. But uh, when you go 100% behind something like generative AI and you say this is a great teaching
Mm-hmm.
tool, you're not really sure. You don't have a complete control over. You can't put everything in the jar that you're teaching. You have complete
Right.
control over everything. Everything that happens is going to teach somebody something. Every attitude, everything you
Right.
say, everything. So what else is going to come out of that is the mysterious unknown remainder, which is kind of scary to
Yeah.
think about. It's kind of scary to think about, I think.
Well, yeah, I think AI in any capacity is incredibly scary to think about. I think also as young people entering the workforce, I mean, it's really anyone trying to re-enter a workforce or already within the workforce, this idea of like how many jobs is it going to take?
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's bridged. I think the bridge, once it became creative,
Mm-hmm.
that's what scared a lot of people is that now it's not only coming for jobs within technology and within more literal jobs, more literal fields. Now it can come for anything. It can come for anything creative. It can come for anything labor intensive. It can come for really everything. So I think there are lots of ways that within the workforce this is scaring a lot of people, myself included, truly.
Yeah. Big changes. Well, anyway, that was a long conversation sparked by me being like, what's my AI policy? Like at my university, we don't have a rule against it. We just show like
Yeah.
the professors can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Each
Um,
professor I found had a very, very different view on it.
mm-hmm.
Like, I once had a professor ask me specifically to use AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, is it okay if I don't? Like, I
Yeah.
just didn't. That's, she probably didn't like me
Oh.
very much. But I just felt like I don't want to. I want to do this I want to do this myself. I want to read the material and gather my thoughts and create a conclusion. I don't really want to have AI read this material for me and then create something. Like, and it was a assignment of creating a quiz.
Mm.
Like we were supposed to create a quiz, and I was like, why can't I just like read the chapter and come up with 5 questions and answers?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
why do I need ChatGPT to do this for me? Like, I would rather just do it by myself. And that's where we run into this issue where some students really feel like they can't not use it. Like,
Mm.
they have to. Like, they don't think they can function without it, even in classes that are within their major. That's what baffles me.
Yeah.
If you feel that you cannot write a paper within a major specific class, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I mean, I definitely think AI is the death of the college essay. I think that's going to go away.
Absolutely.
It's we've known for a while, kind of secretly. It's not a very good
Hmm.
way to grade people.
Oh.
It's not a very good way to evaluate people and understand stuff.
Right.
But we still use it because it's like, well, it's just comfortable and
Right.
familiar. And it's comfortable and familiar for everyone. And like all of the upset about Samantha Fulnecki, I don't know, we didn't plan to get
Hmm.
in on this. All that upset about that is because it's like people are like, she should have failed that paper. And I'm just like, why? Look at the instructions. She
Yeah,
followed
I
the
read your piece
instructions.
about that.
She had followed the instructions. So if it's about her not following instructions getting a 0, well, that can't be the case. But it's that she
Right.
missed the rhetoric everyone knows of the undergraduate college paper and what it should look like, which is a
Yeah.
very ineffectual ineffective, nonsense kind of rhetoric that's just kind of like twists in on itself like a snake eating its tail. And I mean, I've read a billion of these things. They're all about the same. By the way, in our class, I think a lot of people used AI on that last paper.
Really?
Yeah, because everybody had the same
Like
John
setup?
Rawls. They had the same John Rawls quote. We didn't read John Rawls.
Are you kidding?
Everyone had the same John Rawls like move, and I'm like, what? I was like, why is everybody talking about John Rawls? And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I think everybody kind of
Stop.
used a little AI to kind of, and the papers didn't sound identical, but they all had the same kind
Right.
of beats. I don't
Flow.
know. It's kind of like one of those things of like,
Oh my gosh. Was I the only one that didn't cite him?
yeah, I think so. Well, there was somebody else who didn't, I think, but it was really weird to see
Wow.
that in there. I thought, oh, this is AI influence, but it's kind of like one of those things where it's
That's
like,
crazy.
okay, if this was a song, is
Hmm.
this a sample or is this like stealing?
Yeah.
Because a lot
Because
of our
it,
music is
yeah.
sampled. You know, if you can go and watch
Yeah.
the great TED talk on sampling by what's his name? He's a really really good producer, famous producer. He produced Amy Winehouse and Bruno Mars. But he did a really good TED. Oh, Mark Rawson. Mark Rawson. Yeah.
Mm,
He did a great TED talk on sampling and how it works to create new music, how it's not theft. And I think that might be
right.
the way to think about writing. I think writing is always kind of like sampling, like taking a beat
Well,
you
yeah.
like or a riff you like. And good writing is always like that.
Yeah. I
Because
mean, you
how do you
read.
learn good writing? Well, you read a lot. You read Stephen King's book on writing.
Yeah.
I think it's a great book on writing, one of the best. And he's like, you just gotta. I read a lot of horror books all day long. I'm reading novels, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I like that. It teaches you things. And then you look at like a
Yeah.
very very famous writer who wrote Power Broker and wrote all those books on LBJ. What's his
Hmm.
name? He's very famous. Mark, what's his name? Robert Caro. Is that his name? Wrote the Power Broker, I
Maybe.
think. Yeah. But yeah, Robert Caro, he talked about opening the Power Broker. He just lifted a technique from Homer, just straight up.
Right.
He was very open
But yeah,
about
and
that.
I think that's what people are really lacking in terms of writing is how you create your own style of writing. You read other
Yeah,
writers
it's a
and you look at
yeah.
style, yeah, you look at like stylistic choices that they used. I mean, that's what everyone does. That's what I've done. I feel like my writing style is very dry. I enjoy like a dry, short sentence cut
It's like
type of
writing
style of writing.
sommelier, kind of like I like a dry, little fruity, dry.
Little oaky,
Yeah.
a nice base, keep it simple. But it's true. It's like you
If I had a
test all these.
bookstore, I would have a sommelier. Would be one of the roles.
See,
Book
that's
sommelier.
it's like that though. Like you test all these writings, different wines, and they all feel different, and they all sound different and look different, and you choose which one you like the best as well as other ones and kind of they all come together and they make your own style of writing. Some people use very even like in the way that people quote things and cite things. Like that's what the article that we were going to talk about by Campbell, she has massive citations.
Yeah.
She takes whole and see that's a different style than other writers where they really just like pull like small quotes
Yeah, it's a different
and
era
insert
too.
them.
Plus, also in that
Yeah,
Campbell essay, we can go to the Campbell essay now if you want to. We can always jump around,
sure.
but we got to let the audience know what the hell we're doing, so we'll have to lead
Yeah.
into it. But that was a different era too, and also when you're
Yeah.
introducing to a group of people a whole bunch of literature they might not have read, you have to like quote a lot from it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but tell me, what is this essay that you're? What is this essay you're talking about?
Oh,
Ugh,
What is this?
this this essay was beautiful. Um, and it was called, I believe, Women's Liberation and Oxymoron.
Yeah, it's very famous. Everyone out there
Yeah,
needs
very famous.
everyone, all the rhetoric heads out there, all the rhetoric
Yes.
sommeliers. Maybe I should change
Yes.
my LinkedIn.
I like it.
You know one thing I hate is LinkedIn. I think it's the dumbest place where people
You,
go. It's where people go to become what Karl Marx talked about, alienated from themselves. Like so, Karl Marx's critique of
yes.
capitalism is that you're alienated from your work. You're alienated from your labor. Like there's no connection of the
Yes.
value in your labor. You're alienated from what you do. It has nothing to do with who you are. You're just doing this job.
Yes. And
You're
shout
alienated
out to
from
Isabella.
you're alienated from your coworkers and all that. But
Mhm.
the most important thing is you're alienated from yourself. When you go to work, you're not
Yes.
yourself. You're your work self. And there's a whole show about this, I think, on Apple called
Yes.
Severance or White Room Office, something like that. I don't know what it's Severance, is that what it's
Yes.
called? Or it's Secession.
I'm not sure,
Secession,
but
maybe.
I will say
But
shout
it's
out
about you
to
go to work and you're a different creature.
yeah. Yeah, shout out to our dear friend
Spoilers.
Isabella. She is the most anti-LinkedIn. She has completely secured so many amazing opportunities and she barely uses LinkedIn. I love it. But to this article, it's
Every
the
job I've ever
specific,
gotten, I didn't use LinkedIn either
yeah, I mean,
because
really.
it didn't exist when I was
Well, yeah,
younger.
that's true. But I really
People
love
hate
this
me for this one
article.
weird trick.
Hey, it's all right. That's like a flex though.
It's called being old.
Um, but this
Oh.
article called the Rhetoric of Women's Liberation an Oxymoron by Carolyn Campbell. It was wonderful. I really liked it. She really talked about how women's liberation and feminist rhetoric has to be looked at within a different perspective and a different lens than all other forms of movement. And she really honed in on this idea that it's so different because women's liberation is not a communal process necessarily. It is a lot to do with individual feelings, a lot to do with what the self wants, and like internal processes in the change of how a woman thinks of herself, not only just thinks of other women. Um, and I just thought that how she really framed it was so interesting because she kind of talked about how typically in traditional senses the women's movement and women's liberation in general does follow a lot of and also doesn't follow a lot of our rhetorical processes. Um, but it just has to be looked at by through a different lens because it's not just about the kind of public perception. It's so much more about how each woman feels individually in her own mind and what women's liberation means to each woman individually.
Which is the oxymoron part.
Right, exactly.
But it's also because of all the work she does to talk about how women judge and rate and
Yes.
exclude other women based on standards that look like they're patriarchal. Well, they are patriarchal, aren't they? Because
Yes.
one of the big things that's hard for people when they're entering feminist thought is this idea that the patriarchy isn't like a good old boys club that it boosts men and decries women.
Mhm.
It's part
Mhm.
of what it does, but it also limits men.
Right.
It limits everyone,
Yeah.
and even
Yeah.
things like the idea that that transgender people are somehow derivative or that's not natural. That's not a part of
Mhm.
gender is associated with patriarchy as well. Like
Right. Right.
it's rules that nobody wrote that everyone
Yeah.
follows, and people follow them um, uh, to their own peril. Really, they don't even really follow them. They force themselves into doing it. So the idea of that. But the other thing that was interesting about the essay is the idea of like what kinds of rhetorical texts. Like you can't like look at the podium. You can't look at
Yes.
positions of
Yes.
power. But this essay, like it's hard to communicate like how limited the study of rhetoric was until this
Yes.
essay and things started to kind of branch out to other things. Nowadays, people come to rhetoric, they're like, cool, I can study anything I want. Rhetoric of
Right.
stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
rhetoric of Hot Wheels, rhetoric of ice pops. Like, there's this like rhetoric of Lady
Yeah.
Gaga, all this
Anything.
stuff.
It
And
can
then
be
somebody's
anything
like,
you want.
and then somebody will be like, I want to do the rhetoric of Donald Trump. And people are like, boring. Like, it's like the most important
Yeah,
kind of
people
research today. But everyone's like,
yeah.
I want to do the rhetoric of the miniskirt. And like all these
Yeah.
dissertations and things that people, I mean, I guess I am kind of making fun of them.
Oh.
But I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying it's like, it's just so atomized now which
Yeah.
is the
I
kind of
yeah.
like we've gone to the other extreme. But at the point where she wrote this all you could really do was like,
Yeah.
here's my dissertation on Herbert Humphrey's speeches in the campaign for
Right.
Senate or whatever, and that's all you could do. Like,
And that's what I really took away from this article too, is I was reading what she was saying about how this really like studying women's liberation really it looks different than studying rhetoric traditionally because you're looking at the singular emotional processes of someone and you're looking at internal feelings of how someone may look at the movement, may look at women's liberation. And it was so interesting when I was reading it because I was like, that's how I feel like I look at everything that I study within rhetoric. I specifically look to study why, how are people feeling when they are confronted with this and what identifying factors affect how they think and feel. And so it's interesting to read this at a time where that was very unique and that was very groundbreaking. And I felt very grateful to be able to study in that way very easily and say, this is what I want to look at. I want to look at the personal processes of viewing this. How do people look at this based on their identities, stuff like that. And so I thought that was really interesting. And I thought it was really interesting that she brought up how a big form, kind of going back on what you said, where we have to take a look at, we have to move away from the podium a little bit.
yeah,
Um, and she talked about how women just speaking is a form of liberation. Women just talking is really helpful. And the only thing I could really think of is the popularity of women-led podcasts right now.
oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and that totally connected for me. And I thought immediately too, even further about how Monica Lewinsky went on the Call Her Daddy podcast. And the Call Her Daddy podcast started as a podcast that a lot of people criticized because it was kind of giving like sex tips to young girls and talking about like boy problems. But it really has evolved into still doing that, but having a lot of famous women come on the show from all kind of walks of life. And it kind of broke the internet when Monica Lewinsky came on because I thought that it was just this really interesting cross of this woman feeling like she could come and speak about this huge scandal she had been a part of on a platform that really just serves to have women talking. There's just a different woman each, I think maybe few weeks. I'm not sure. I'm not like an avid listener. Um, from all different places and they just talk. And I think it really made me think about how popular female podcasts are right now and they're kind of like taking everything by storm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not a big podcast listener, as everyone knows. Well, everyone who's had me in class, because you were in a couple of classes where you had somebody in there who's like, "Have you heard this podcast? Have you heard this podcast? Have you heard this podcast?" I'm like,
Yeah, and
"I
I'm
haven't
not
heard any
either
of them.
really.
I haven't heard any of them." I like. I'm thinking about listening to this Napoleon podcast, but I don't know. I think I might have commitment problems. I really do.
I have a
Because I'm
hard
like, if I
time
a podcast, I have to
just
listen to
doing
that
it.
an hour every 5
I
days.
know.
I'm
As we're
sorry, I
making
just
one.
can't commit to that. Randomly, I can
I
do it,
know. Yes,
but
and
it's
I
just like,
think it
oh,
helps me. It helps me when there's like a feature, which I think is
I
why
can't.
Call Her Daddy has become so popular, is because she's never.
Who's the
There's a
host of
few
this
times where she
podcast? Is
is.
she like,
Alex Cooper.
and she's like, how is she famous? Or did she
He's
become famous through the podcast, or was she
okay.
famous and then launched a podcast?
Okay.
Which is
I
Steve
am
Martin has
not an
told us is the
expert
reason
on
why.
her, but she started this podcast with ananother woman. I
Was she a
unfortunately do not
journalist,
remember her
or
name.
was she a
She
journalist or
went
influencer?
to,
Or,
okay, I know, I don't think so before. I
hmm.
think she and her friend, I believe at the time, again, I don't know her name because she wasn't a co-host with her for too long.
Yeah, she left.
They kind of created this podcast. Yeah, they created this podcast that, like I said, really was like raunchy and explicit. And this is the kind of stereotype that she's gotten is very like sexual, and she would give all this advice to young women, and eventually it became a solo show with just her. Um but that it became popular, I want to say around like 2016 to 2018. Um and it's very interesting because it's now she's viewed out in such a different light because she talks a lot. She came out with her story on sexual assault,
Oh man.
and she really has a very feminist take on a lot of things. She went and she interviewed like anti-abortion protesters.
Oh wow.
So she's completely done kind of this 360, people would say.
Yeah, it's
But
like it's
I,
like a journalistic route, and almost
yeah,
like kind of a narrative. I don't know. I wonder if like people out
yeah,
there doing rhetorical work on podcasts in terms of narrative theory and different kinds of.
yeah,
But the thing that
yeah,
bothers me the most about podcasts is that they're narrow. So they give you a sense
right.
of being a part of a larger. There's this very famous book called Imagined Communities.
Yes.
Yeah, you know
Hmm.
this book, right? By
Yes. Yes.
Benedict Anderson.
Hmm.
Very famous book, and in that book,
Yeah.
the case is made that our national connections and our identities and our are all fictional,
Yes.
crafted through things like the newspaper and television broadcasts.
Right. We
But
create them.
nobody, but I mean, now everyone's listening to 5 or 6 different podcasts. There might be some
Right.
overlap, but these Venn diagrams are not that close. And
Yeah.
I wonder if people imagine maybe a lot of the rage that we feel out there. I was just talking to my friend earlier today. Why are people so angry and so ready to snap? And it's like the communication. We don't have rhetorical training, so we don't know how to group people
Hmm.
into Venn diagrams anymore.
Hmm.
And the podcast makes us feel that work has been done for us. So we feel like
Right.
everyone who matters is listening to 260 or 54
Right.
or Obama and Friends or whatever these, what's that one? Pod Save America, the Obama
Yeah.
staffers, and Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro has a podcast, and Joe Rogan, and all this. And everyone feels like if you matter, you're listening. It's like it's different than everyone
Right.
is listening. It's a lot more like Perlman and Ulrich Titika's argument about Vanguard audiences. The danger of a Vanguard audience is you think it's everyone, but really what it is
Yeah.
everyone who matters. So it's okay to exclude all the
Hmm.
dummies, right? And this is like a very dangerous kind of way to look at argumentation. A very dangerous way to practice rhetoric is to be like, well, I'm talking to the people who matter. And that's kind of like, that's my
Right.
concern with podcasts. That's my,
Yeah.
I think that's why I
Yeah.
don't really listen. I don't like them, except that Napoleon one I might listen to because everyone knows I'm
Yeah.
kind of obsessed with Napoleon Bonaparte a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And I think her podcast is just very interesting because people think that she's kind of done this 360 to more of a like a feminist take, which I will say a lot of the things that she used to say when her show had more of like a raunchy stereotype, they were pretty grotesque, and some
Well, it's
people
called
did
Call Her Daddy, right? So it's just
yeah.
it's what
Yeah.
we would
It's
call
really
in Freudian terms. That's just a wink to like this is perversion. So
right. And that's
perversion is
how
like the
yeah, that's how
inversion of
it was.
the pleasure comes from inverting
Yeah.
the normal hierarchy of where pleasure should come from. So Call Her Daddy
Right.
is like this very
Yeah.
kind of like it's obvious that it's for perverts, but now it's not a perverted.
Right, but it's interesting the ways in
We're all
which
perverts, by
that
the way.
changes people's right. It's interesting in the way that it changes the way people perceive it because in reality she's in no matter what form, she's creating this level of deviance, and this is like a lot of what Campbell talks about. She's deviating from her like sex appropriate behavior
Oh, that's
in
interesting.
any way. So her speaking out and her, as Campbell also talks about, being successful is just a form of deviance. And so, no matter way she's doing it, no matter what she's talking about, she's participating in a form of deviance
She can't be representative.
from right, which is going to be and it's going to be deviant behavior no matter what she's saying.
Yeah.
And Campbell said something really
This is
interesting
good.
that
You
I
should write
kind of
this. This is like write about
yeah, I
Call Her
loved
Daddy
the
and Campbell.
article.
Write that. Why
Yeah,
not?
I mean seriously because it's interesting because she really talks a lot about a quote I really like that she said was women are unsexed by success, men are unsexed by failure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yep.
kind of this idea that, and I thought a lot about that with the podcast because Alex Cooper's married to this man who's like very supportive publicly of her, and I'm not sure what he does for a living, if he does something for a living, but
It's funny
it's
that we
kind of
don't know
like
a lot about
this,
him. That's telling too.
yeah, and it's kind of like this narrative that he lives off her. So it's this very interesting narrative
Smart
of
guy. I like him.
she's unsexed by success, literally in her name. She
Mhm.
has a male name in her podcast, and he's kind of subsequently unsexed and seen as kind of like this little meek guy.
He's seen as the
Um,
wife. He's the wife.
yes,
It's like, oh,
yes,
so and so, like famous actor and his wife, right? That's the way the media.
yeah. But I think you can also really look at this from when we talk about um, Campbell. She talks a lot in this article as well about women holding themselves accountable for how they contribute to these systems and how their own internal processes and how they communicate to other women and how they kind of place themselves and view themselves, that participates in our patriarchy and kind of holding yourself accountable for how that affects everyone, I think is an interesting way to look at this because that's what a lot of her critiques were at the beginning of her podcast is that you getting on here and talking about how to best please a man or how he can like he'll never stop calling, like you're participating in this idea that women need to be at the hands of the pleasure of men. And so I think it really, she also just this very complex public character of like she really, a lot of people thought she was heavily contributing to the patriarchy for a very long time and really appealing to it. But it's like, is women's liberation also appealing to the patriarchy at the same time in this way that we don't even know we are
Yeah,
just by
yeah.
existing? And Campbell talks a lot about that too, that even studies show that even when workplace barriers or legal barriers are lifted and women do have more of the physical clearance to have less barriers to men, they still avoid success because of this feeling that they need to uphold this behavior and they need to act in this certain way. And so it's like,
Well, it's
even
uncharted
when,
waters, right? Uncharted. They don't have a
yeah,
script. They don't have a
yeah,
story. I've seen that happen many times where people
right,
they could be very successful in something that they have
yeah,
no preparation for, and so then they self sabotage or they freak out, and then they return to
hmm,
like a very normal kind of narrative. I'm a
yeah,
good mother. I kind of work,
yes,
but my children are my life, and this kind of thing.
yeah.
And
And it reminded
it helps
me,
them. It kind of like helps them out because
yeah,
stepping off the edge of the street into the morass or stepping off the edge of the continent
right,
is kind of the
right,
and humans are narrative rhetorical creatures. You have to have some kind of grammar or
yeah,
you can't walk forward, you
yeah.
can't move forward. So
Yeah, and it really reminded me of how I responded when I debated in your class for the first time,
yeah. Uh-oh.
and how the first thing that I debated and I followed the procedure and I was very firm and I was very confident. And the first thing I did when I finished the debate was apologize
Oh yeah.
to the men that I debated. And
Sorry,
you
I had
kind
to
of
do
pointed
that.
out,
I had to do that. Sorry, I had to do
yeah,
that.
that,
It's
and I
kind of
did. I
yeah.
said, I'm sorry for being so rude. I'm sorry for
No.
being so angry. And it was the first thing I thought to do. And I kind of thought about that and I was like, wow, like I really that is really just adding, and I thought about all of the other women in the class. What precedent did I set by apologizing to all the men when I really was just debating just as they were?
Mm-hmm.
Like I really was debating just as they were, and then I thought even further about how, as you know, I avoided debate for so long, and I really didn't want to do it. And the prospect of doing it made me incredibly uncomfortable. And I thought about really after this reading this article that I feel that that was really me, in her words, avoiding success and avoiding acting inappropriately per my sex. And I internally I can be as pro women liberation as I want, but I always will have these ideas in my head that I have to dismantle. I can't go out into the world without looking within myself first. And she says this really interesting quote about like how the enemy will always have outposts in your head.
Yep.
And I think that's very interesting because it's true. We can't
That's my favorite quote from
I
that essay, really.
yeah, it was incredible. I really, really loved it, and I loved how she ended it with that. And it's really true. Like it really comes down to dismantling the own kind of fixtures that we have been processed to have. And she talks a lot about like these things are implemented since birth, and these roles are implemented since birth, and we learn how to act from day one. And it just really made me think about that and how I felt so apologetic and how that not only continued my own appeasement of the patriarchy, but also kind of pushed that forward for the other women in my class. And because I then thought back and I thought my female partner then apologized after I did.
But
And
what if it didn't? What if it didn't set a precedent? What if it just lowered the anxiety in the room?
yeah, I mean,
Brought
that
everything.
too.
Brought
That,
it took the boil off. Maybe it reduced the
yeah,
simmer,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
doesn't
And
feel like. And people might think of it that way, and that doesn't feel like you're doing something bad. But then again, it's like, well, this is called endorsement or reification
right,
to the Marxists,
right.
or
And yeah.
yeah, so, it's like it's the normalization of okay, now this was a temporary fiction. Now we're going to return to those roles that are very comfortable.
Yes, and even if it
Which is a
didn't set a
problem with
precedent, but
with
it
debate
lowered the simmer.
in competitive tournament oriented debate. All debate's competitive, but a lot of these tournaments call it competitive debate as if there were any other kind. But a tournament debate, this is a perennial problem. Is the problem of the recognition of women and trying to make the judgments fair
Mhm.
when there's um, so much that we bring in. The idea is to create a clean room. You're
Right.
never going to be able to teach debate in a clean room. Never, ever. But this
No.
is the goal of the tournament debate people is to have a completely sanitized chamber for this so that the truly best arguments can always win. But then
Right.
you always have judges be like, you were too aggressive to women.
Yeah.
A constant. This has
Yeah.
always been a problem since I debated when I was like 14, 15. It's been a problem.
Yeah.
Still a problem today.
Yep.
And now it's just even more pronounced and complex because it's like um, there are all these different identities that are being accepted, which is a great thing. But it's difficult to try to get, if the goal wasn't trying to get the clean room, you could maybe make some more advancement, I think, in terms of thinking about how argument really works rhetorically. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but
And
anyway, that Campbell
I
essay I think is great. There's more of this
yeah.
kind of stuff out there. You can read. She gets into no spoilers, guys. She gets into a big exchange with
Mm.
another scholar, Barbara Biesecker, who writes a response
Mm.
to this essay. And then Campbell writes a response to her, and then Biesecker writes a response to her, and they
I think I read one of those when I was doing my own research for my project.
yeah, the criticisms are very interesting, but we could continue with that.
Mm.
But we're almost out of time here. We only have a few minutes
Yeah.
left. So we need to talk about a couple of promotional things.
Yes, of
No, we have to
course.
talk about. I haven't promoted this on the podcast yet, but I need to promote the book. Dun 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 dun.
Woo.
Yeah. How am I going to do this? Let's see. Yeah, there it is. So my book has been out since the summer. It's receiving. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes.
I. Yes. Okay. Enough. Rave reviews, and I have here this QR code that you can use to get 20% off your copy, and all the money
Woo.
goes directly to the show, which is me. Here it is. The code is Palout. I don't know. Is that French? Palou. Palou.
Maybe.
No, I think it's just
Baloo.
Palout. Palou. I don't know what I mean. Palgrave. Ought. I don't know. Anyway, if you hit this QR code and use this, you get 20% off the book. And all of it goes to me, your favorite favorite podcast host in the world, me.
Yep.
And yeah, so you definitely want to support the show and support me and all of that good stuff. So I have to redo the window for us because it's like out of control.
Right.
It's out of control.
It's all right.
Out of control.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just kind of like it's amateur hour over here.
Hey, you know what? There's always room for that.
Yeah, well, there has to.
It's how you learn.
We're
Of
forcing.
course.
We're forcing it. But anyway, you also. I've been pushing Ava a long time to do her own podcast.
Yes.
A podcast
Yes.
that we can do it under the Idra family of podcasts.
Yes. I
That's
have a
my
lot to
company.
talk
Do you know
about.
they have a company?
No, I don't.
So In the Bin is produced by International Debate Research Associates. It's a
Okay.
company. I'm the president of this company. It's incorporated here in beautiful, lovely, livable New York City.
Right.
Here. And this is from our office suite, actually. This is from the studio office suite. I just sat in front of the
Yes.
window.
Of course.
On a giant tower in the middle of the harbor.
Naturally.
That's the best place to podcast.
Where else would you be?
Yeah. So Idra produces In the Bin. Idra can produce your podcast too.
I would love that. I have lots to talk about.
Let's spend a few minutes talking about your podcast and when do you think it's going to start and what are you guys going to do on it?
I think, okay, my podcast, I think I would love to start sooner rather than later. I think as soon as I kind of have some more solidified ideas of exact episodes, I have a lot I would love to talk about. I would love to kind of reiterate my own work in verbal form. Um, Kind of talk about,
podcasting is the new publication. That's hot.
yeah, talk about what I like to talk about. I really, really love talking about ideas of gender and ideas of sex and the ways that our own culture and specific subcultures affect those identities, affect those expressions. That's really my favorite thing to talk about. I really like looking at something like pop culture-esque, like say Call Her Daddy, and kind of implementing that with theory to explain or to kind of seek to investigate why we may understand things in the way that we do. I look at a lot of men and women type of thing and the differences between that, and I like to investigate the binary. And I also love to look at cinema and how art really affects that. That's a lot of what I talk about. I also want to talk about very much like have a little Carrie Bradshaw moment, talk about some of love and romance and how that's affected by these theories. I find that really interesting.
There's a whole bunch of people out there in the communication who study this thing
Yes.
called romantic communication. But
Yes.
most of the time they are not rhetoricians. They are
Yeah.
communications theory people. They do quantitative
Right.
work. Very important work. I don't know very much about it. It's vital. It's really good for stuff like, for example, like consent and sexual assault
Yes.
prevention and things like this. It's very,
Yeah.
very, very good data for that. But it's like kind of like health communication in a way. It's very data.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I like
rhetoric is
looking
data
at
driven
that.
too. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean, people.
Right. Of course. And I think I don't know, I just want to do a mix of everything. And I'll definitely have people come on
Yeah.
and talk. I feel like I have lots of interesting people in my life.
But the key element of the podcast, the tagline, the selling point of the podcast.
Yes, which is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to name my podcast is going to be called Drunk Sig. And
I didn't know that. I was thinking of something else. But anyway, go ahead.
oh, well, it's going to be called Drunk Sig, and this is because I feel that some of the best rhetorical conversations and some of the best conversations that people can talk about are that over a drunk sig. I feel like underrated
You wrote a
conversations,
little bit about this on your Substack.
yeah, I feel like those conversations are like the deepest conversations, the funniest conversations, the most influential conversations. And so why not name the whole podcast Drunk Sig? Even though I won't be having Drunk Sigs on the podcast. But what were you talking about?
I was talking about the other podcast, but this is a fine podcast to promote. We can talk about the other podcast another time.
What other podcast?
Do you want me to talk about it here? We had conversations over the past semester about how it's
Oh,
very
yes,
important.
of course.
It's very
How
important.
could
Yeah.
I have this brain fart?
Well, it's very
So
important. Ava told me she thinks it's very important that baddies study rhetoric
yes.
and that we need
Yes.
more baddies in rhetoric.
Yes. So, yes, I very much I think I always
Drunk Sig sounds like a great. That's a great podcast. I'll
that
listen to
yeah,
that one.
that's my own personal kind of podcast.
No
I
no
think
commitment issues there. I'll listen to that
of course,
and
thank
the
you so
Napoleon
much.
podcast and maybe the new one.
Yes. This idea of the rhetoric baddie, I think I had more of a brain fart because I really do think of it as more of like this archetype of a person, this archetype of a group of
The
people.
rhetoric baddie is an
The
archetype.
rhetoric baddie, I just think that I'm very passionate about this intersection of smart women and beautiful women, and that there are so many women out there. And I think every woman and every person has the potential to be a smart rhetorician and to be beautiful. And I think that this idea, this stereotype of rhetoric, of being full of kind of this like cobwebby Discord mod guy who's super dorky and kind of like woman hating a little bit. I think that this needs to be kind of like debunked because I
Yeah,
think there's so many people out there that really are so involved with rhetoric but feel as though they're not fully engulfed because they don't fit this criteria. They're a young woman like me, a young woman who loves to do her blowouts and like I'm going to come on here and I'm going to like have my hair done and have my makeup done, but I have very important things to say and I have very smart things to say. And this is
it's
kind of
tough.
also
It's
in
so you really
yeah,
hit on a
it's
point
very
there
tough.
because there's so much in the field, like NCA. Everybody knows. I kind of am very
Yes.
critical of NCA, but in the
Mhm.
NCA rhetoric space, there's a lot of diminished sort of confidence issues, and there's a lot of like following, sticking your finger in the wind and following where the famous, aka
Yes.
popular scholars are going. You kind of follow them around, and you're like, oh, they said this.
Yes.
I'm gonna. It's like you have to have permission from your mom or your dad to write
Right.
about something, and it's like
Yeah.
enforced by reviewers. It's enforced by the journal editors. It's enforced by. So what you're suggesting is this kind of like, I'm a rhetoric baddie. I am gonna do my identity my way, and
Yes.
I'm going to write and talk and teach about the rhetorical issues that I believe are important. And then people can push
Yes.
back on that, which sounds to me like perfect. I love this idea for a
Yeah.
podcast. It's great.
Yeah, and I do a lot of work on that you've helped me with, a lot on literal sexual expression, and I think women sometimes feel very held back on doing study on this and study on a direct, explicit behavior because they feel as though people will kind of project this behavior onto them
Yeah, it's very
because
dangerous
of the
too.
way they look and
Yeah,
because of their identity. And I kind of want to make a statement that it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you embody this stereotypical,
that's such
say,
privilege, isn't it? That's like
yes,
male privilege, right? Because no woman would
yeah,
ever do that to a man. I'm trying to think of the national. When you go to the
no,
national convention,
no,
you'll see what I mean. The standard of
yes,
professionalism to women at the national convention is like 1,000
yes.
times higher than the standard on me or any man. Like I can get away with like maybe even like
Yeah, and I
wearing
think and
this,
that's why
and no one would
people
bat an eye.
yeah.
But the standards of and so, but no woman would ever think to conflate what I present about as some kind of an invitation to
Yes.
hit on me, pursue me, whatever. I mean,
Yes.
I have had graduate students follow me into the bathroom, but not. It's not the same thing. It's like this weird kind of like I
Right.
have to get your
And
opinion.
yeah.
And I'm like, give me a minute. But the that's kind of like the follow around kind of thing. But this
Yeah.
professional this privilege thing of where men will associate like if you do research something about
Mhm.
sex or dating or romance, and then they project
Mhm.
that on you that you must be into this kind of thing. So then I'm gonna
Right.
very very much the center, the epicenter of privilege.
Yeah, exactly. And I think not taking that seriously and taking it more of a projection of the women's own desire or the women's own interests instead of being rhetorical research is why I feel so strongly about doing the research and doing research into why. And again, like, I refuse to fulfill this prophecy that Campbell speaks of running from success, even when so many people have worked for barriers to be removed from me in order to have the opportunity and the privileges to study and to kind of share my work. I refuse to run from success because I might not fit the archetype or stereotype of the person that people typically see when you see studies on sex or studies on desire. I do a lot of research into what women desire sexually and how that's affected, and how the way that they talk about what they want, how that affects
Well,
how
it
thing
constitutes it from a rhetorical. It
right. And so
constitutes.
I refuse to feel that I need to display my work or my study in a way that is more palatable for people, less distracting for people. I refuse to do that. I'm going to have my hair done and my makeup done and a cute outfit on every time I show my work because that's who I am. And I'm
Yeah.
also a smart person who does research on explicit matters, just as men have done forever. And my work means just as much while I have my blowout as the man sitting next to me.
Yeah. Well said. Very good. Yeah, I think the podcast could also be like helpful to give people that discourse, those discursive tools, or
Right.
the
Yeah.
topo, to push
Yeah.
back on the operations of privilege when they share
Yes.
work that interests them that they might be scared to share because
Right.
it's perceived by men as license to act or
Yes.
speak a certain way,
Yes.
which
This
is like
like deviance.
yikes.
Like, oh, you do deviant research.
Oh, okay.
Like,
So that means I can, approach you and maybe I can have a deviant experience myself. No, it's
right.
not for
It's
me.
like you must embody this some sort of expressive sexual crazy
Yep.
girl.
Yep.
It's like that's not it. I'm
Not
studying the same
necessarily, no.
things. Yeah, I'm
And
studying the same things that men have been studying.
this is what it means to be a rhetoric baddie. Yes?
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So I see a future where the podcast blows up. You have little stickers that you sell at the convention. Rhetoric baddie, people put them on their name. This is going to go much, much farther than in the bin, but that is a low bar.
Hey, but in the bin will always be my roots. First
In the bin
podcast.
is a lot of people's roots, but
True, that's a beautiful thing.
well, in the bin will be around as long as I will be, and then in perpetuity when AI decides to take over and
Right.
create
Then it'll
in
still
the
be there.
bins about things that I can't even imagine. But anyway, that's the end of the show. We're out of time. Can you believe it?
Yes.
End of the show.
Ugh, I
You'll
can't.
come back on for another one, I hope.
Yes, of course.
That'll be good. All right, well,
Yes.
thank you guys for listening. In the bin, available
Thank you.
pretty much anywhere a podcasts are. I say that, but it might only be available on YouTube. So go to YouTube, search for In the Bin. You'll find it. All the podcasts are there. All our past episodes are there. In the Bin podcast at gmail.com. Any complaints must be submitted in writing and probably be ignored, but you can also ask questions or whatever you want to do. InTheBinPodcast.com is the website. What else? What else? Oh, yes. In the Bin is a production of International Debate Research Associates, who is solely and totally responsible for all the content that you hear. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.